much, brother. God bless. Hi, everybody. My name's Mickey Bush, and I'm a fully conceded alcoholic. That's fully conceded, not conceited, as you may discover later on. Is that close enough for the mic, you guys? You guys asked me to speak into the mic or do something, if it's all right. Okay, good. My name's Mickey Bush. I'm an alcoholic. I'm in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I know what's wrong with me, and I know what to do about it. That's a lot of shit right there. And I never brought that in here with me. January 15th, 1983. Now, I haven't come here to offend or upset anybody today, but I'm good at it, you know. So, you know, if you get offended or don't like what I say or something, you're perfectly entitled to leave. I'm going to be talking about the beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, this beautiful book that I have before me. You know, I love the beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and what I talk about is what's in there. You know, and what's in there is a very good stepping stone, especially if you're in the beginning or in the new period like I was, and it helped me immensely. Of course, today, you know, we've moved on somewhat, and I like to think in terms of the book as being something similar to the American Constitution. As you can guess, you probably picked up on the fact I'm a limey lush and loady. You know, I'm from northwest London. This is the way I speak. Alcohol didn't do this to me. You know, I mean, but I love America. I've been here 38 years, and I absolutely love and thrill to the fact that I'm in America. I love that. And, you know, the American Constitution, I think along that line where the book's concerned, because the American Constitution, you know, has been changed 26 times. They've never once, you know, apologized for having written it in the first place. But what they wrote, something showed itself as being better or more informative, so they changed it 26 times. And that's somewhat like I feel about the beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous. What they wrote back in 1939, you know, was very good, and it's still very good. But we've developed, as it says, you know, more will be revealed. And our beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, has been out 75 years. And the book says of itself, our book is meant to be suggestive only. You know, it may have meant to be suggestive only, but it ain't. You know, it's got clear-cut, precise instructions, directions, and rules to follow. But more will be revealed. And we realize we know a little more will be revealed to you and countless others. And, of course, in 75 years, it would be redundant at best to think that we haven't, you know, had more revealed to us in 75 years. So I love the book and I love what's in the book. But, of course, you know, when people say if it ain't in the book, it don't count, I don't go along with that, because more has been revealed to us. And so we have more knowledge and more experience and more things to help us along this path, you know, our path. You know, it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And I want to emphasize that, because there's no S on the end of path. There's not your path, my path, his path, their path, pick a bloody path. It's path, our path, you know. And I say that because it seems to be something glib that we say in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, everybody does it their own way. We all got our own way of doing it. You got your path, I got my path. Just, you know, we all go. No, we haven't. You know, it's our path. You know, does anybody read this book, by the way? You know, it's a good idea if you're alcoholic. Read the book. You know, like I've just been saying. I mean, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover, it's a recovery process, are those who cannot or will not, some people can but won't, completely, not half measures, give, not take or get, themselves, not their dollar, not their this, of themselves, to this simple program. Usually women who are constitutionally incapable of being... Oh, you are listening, huh? Just testing, just testing. Of course, men and women, of course, but we do. And Bill says, rarely have we seen, but if you go on and read Dr. Bob's story in the back, Dr. Bob says it never fails. And of course, that's what I like that. And so, you know, this is a very good starting point, a stepping stone for us to get onto this path of recovery from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. I'm a recovered alcoholic in recovery, not cured. I know a lot of people don't like the recovered thing, but they confuse it with cured. We're not cured. What we have is a recovery from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And if we didn't have a recovery process, it wouldn't be very attractive to the new person or those who we want to stick around, would we? So my name's Mickey Bush, and, you know, I got here on January the 15th, 1983, broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. But that's not the same today. In fact, I'm not the same guy who came in 1983. You know, I'm not even the same as myself. I know we say things like we're all the same. Well, I don't know where that came from, but, you know, I ain't even the same as me. You know, so how can I be the same as you, you know? But we're on this path, and we may run on the path, walk on the path, or even just sit on the path, as long as we're on this path, if you be alcoholic, you know. And you know, when I come here to Lincoln, you know, I've just enjoyed myself so much over the last 3 days. And Steve's taken good care of me, and Carl, who came and picked me up at the airport, and, you know, all you troops have been just wonderful to me, and you've made me feel exquisite, you know, and I just enjoy the heck out of it. I've been doing these for a lot of time. I've been doing these for over 25 years, you know, upwards of 30 a year, and some are better than others. And this is exquisite. I mean, this is just, I've just had such a wonderful time here in Lincoln, you know. I've been here before, you know. I have been to Lincoln before, you know. What I remember I live in Los Angeles, and, you know, what I remember last time I came to Lincoln, the guy who was doing what Steve's doing for me this weekend, he was my host, and he was driving me around because I like to get out and see the town. And some of you know I like going to thrift shops and garage sales and flea markets and all that kind of good shit. And, you know, he was driving me around, showing me the place and what have you, and all of a sudden he pulled up at a traffic light, and he got really vexed and angst, and he was just grinding, you know. I said, "What's the matter with you?" He said, "This bloody place," he said, "it's getting overrun." He said, I moved out here to get away from all this bloody traffic. We were 3 cars back from the light. You know, I'm used to 10-mile tailbacks, you know. So, you know, there's a little bit of difference there, but you know, I've enjoyed the heck out of being here, and you guys have treated me wonderfully, and I like that. And I've had some wonderful, lovely ladies tell me that, you know, I've helped them, and they're really excited about me being here. And some people even said I saved their life, you know. And I say, well, it's all right for you saying it as long as I don't believe it, you know. And, you know, we all know who saves the lives around here, but lovely ladies weren't saying nice things to me when I was drinking, you know, and welcoming me and those kind of good things. So I want to thank the committee and everybody attached to this thing today. And as Steve mentioned and others, you know, you've got some recordings here that you're building up some seed money to keep going to support this thing. So I'm really glad to be able to do that as well. You know, I'm having a little gratitude attack at the moment. I have gratitude attacks. Anybody know what I mean by gratitude attacks? You know where you just, come over all grateful, you know. You know, gratitude wasn't even in my vocabulary when I got here. Gratitude? Screw gratitude and screw you in gratitude. You know, gratitude, something to be grateful for. So I don't know. I'm like the doctor's opinion here. The alcoholic life's the only one, you know. And gratitude, you know, I don't know nothing about gratitude. Screw gratitude. And yet I can't define the true from the false. And the truth of the matter is that, you know, I've had something to be grateful for all my life. Think about it. Ever since I was christened, my name's Mickey Bush. Mickey Bush. Think about that. Mickey Bush. That puts me somewhere between a mouse and a president. You know, anywhere in that spectrum is where you're likely to find me. Mickey Bush. And I am really grateful they never named me Harry. Can you imagine going through life with a name like Harry Bush? Yeah. You're a rotten lot laughing at that. I'm a delicate dude. Yeah. So you see, I don't know what's good for me, and if I don't know what's good for me, and I don't know what's good for you, but so I'm not here to do anything other than what the beautiful book says, is share my experience, strength and hope with you. Not my opinion. I know we have speakers that get up here and say things, everything you hear from me is strictly my own opinion. You know, I don't say that. I looked for it in the book. I don't see anything in there about opinion, strength and hope, you know. I love the doctor's opinion, which I think is probably the finest piece of literature ever written about alcoholism. You know, where he describes the disease, the obsession of the mind and the phenomenon of craving. You know, and he describes, and I got so much from the doctor's opinion. But the doctor's opinion originally, I don't know if you knew, there's a little bit of trivia for you. The doctor's opinion in the first prints, used to be page 1, which Bill's story is these days. Doctor's opinion used to be, but Alcoholics Anonymous, in our worldwide group conscience, decided to, because he wasn't an alcoholic, the doctor, and this book was just like the Gettysburg Address, you know, for the people, by the people, with the people. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous is like that, by alcoholics, for alcoholics, with alcoholics, and they took the doctor's opinion out of the beautiful book and put it in the preface section. I wouldn't have done that, but wasn't around at that time. Because, you know, some of my troops went to the local meeting after the book study that we'd had in the house. They went on to the 9 a.m. meeting, and they started talking at the meeting about the doctor's opinion that we'd studied in the meeting before they went there. And one guy said, "Where are you getting this shit from? This is good stuff you're sharing here. Where are you getting it from? You're newcomers. Like, where are you getting it?" They said, we just did the book study at Mickey Bush's house. And he said, "It's the doctor's opinion. It's in the book." And the guy with 18 years said, "It's in the book? Where?" He said, and they turned him, "Look, it's in the front part of the book." He said, "Shit, I've never ever read that. You know, I don't read that preface page stuff, you know." So anyway, he missed out on that. But, you know, I love the doctor's opinion, and it taught me a lot. So I'm really grateful for that, and I love the book. And I'm very, you know, as I say, the American Constitution. It's kind of weird as well, the way I think. You know, in the American Constitution, we can take the fifth. You've all heard of that, you know, and you know, all the mobsters and all that can back off and take the fifth, where they don't have to say anything, you know. But our steps, the fifth is where you say everything. You know? That's weird, isn't it? Our fifth is we say everything. American Constitution is where you don't say nothing, you know. So that's just the way my mind works, you know, anyway. So I'm real glad to be here. And, you know, I did the workshop on Thursday. So a lot of what I said there is what I normally do when I do a talk of this nature. But today I won't bore you with doing double jeopardy, you know. But, you know, suffice to say, you know, I'm an alcoholic. And when I got here on January the 15th, 1983, I didn't know that. When I got to Alcoholics Anonymous on January 15th, 1983, under my own volition, I mentioned that because January 15th, 1983 was the first meeting that I went to under my own volition. Because I'm a product of a 12-step call. That's why I do so much 12-step work, because I'm a result of a 12-step. And I didn't know I was being 12-stepped. You know, an English rock and roll singer that was in the Pratt Fellowship and was 2.5 years sober, you know, he was conning me into going to meetings with him. And he led me to believe that he had to go to these bloody meetings, and he felt lonely, and would I go with him just to, you know, be a friend and help him out and stuff like that. So I said, yeah, I don't give a shit, you know, I don't care. You know, I didn't care where I went. I had nowhere better to go anyway, you know, and... you know, and I would go to these meetings, but I only have very vague memories of them because I was in a blackout, you know. Any other blackout drinkers here? You know. And the rest of you lying mothers, I know blackout when I was there. You know, I didn't even know what a blackout was. You know, so I was, you know, this is a disease of denial, folks. You know that, don't you? This is a disease of denial. I wrote the word denial, by the way. D-E-N-I-A-L. Don't even notice I am lying. Or D-E-N-I-A-L. Don't even notice it's a lie. I don't notice when I'm lying, and I don't notice when I'm being lied to, especially by a disease that's telling me I ain't got it. Anybody relate to that? Anybody relate to the voices that go off on your head? We had our little theatre of lies last night where we talked about this. You know the voices that I'm talking about. You know them voices drive you crazy, them voices that talk to you. You know the voices I'm talking about? You know, them voices that just said, what voices? Them voices. You know them voices? Drive you crazy, them voices. Some days you wake up in the morning, voices are sitting on the edge of the bed, says, I'm glad you're awake, I've been waiting to talk to you. You know? Drive you crazy. You've got to drink to drown the voices going off in your head all the time. You know. Well, it's a disease of denial. We'll see. Is there any miracle drinkers here? Any miracle drinkers here? 1, 2, couple of Al-Anons maybe. You know. No miracle drinkers here? You know. Nobody ever go out drinking and have a miracle develop in front of their very eyes? Nobody ever go out drinking and drink somebody good looking? Yeah? What? Any miracle drinkers here now? Oh, denial. Yeah. What about social drinkers? Any social drinkers here? Because I was a social drinker. Here's how, yeah, I was down there, Al-Anon friends standing up. Look. I was a social drinker. Because I knew every time anybody said, I'm going for a drink, I said, so shall I. So I was a social drinker, you know. So I get to Alcoholics Anonymous, but the first meeting I ever get to on January the 15th, 1983, you know, was the first meeting I went to under my own volition. I'd been going to meetings a couple of months prior to that, but I have very little recollection, and I wasn't going under my own steam because I, you know, was at the tail end of my drinking and stuff like that. But January 15th, 1983, a couple of things happened that I didn't know about at the time, you know, and I want to encourage anybody that's here right now, like new folk perhaps, or returning folk that may not understand what we're talking about, or maybe what we're saying goes over their head, or they don't quite grasp it. I tell you what they told me at the very first meeting before I even got into the meeting. I heard those magical words of keep coming back. And I encourage you to keep coming back, because more will be revealed to you as it was promised and as it was to me. Because, you know, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was so sick. I was so sick when I got here, I didn't know I was sick. Do you know how sick that is? Do you know how sick it is to be so sick that you don't know you're sick? That's really sick. And if you're as sick as I was when I got here, so sick that you come into a meeting full of alkies like this one, a good alkie seems to me, and you scan the room like that, and you think, well, I ain't as sick as him. Do you know how sick that is? Do you know how sick it is to be in a meeting full of alkies thinking you ain't as sick as the next guy? That's really sick. So if you're in here tonight wondering whether you is or whether you isn't a real alcoholic or not, I want you to know that I can relate to being as sick as you don't think you are. You know, really sick. And I never knew. You folk knew. I never knew. I never had a clue. I was so sick I didn't even... Now, you know, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a fool. You know, I'm not just good looking. You know, I'm smart. You know, I got creds. I got street creds. I got academics. I got a PhD, for Christ's sake. Pretty heavy drinker. You know. So I ain't an idiot. I don't mean to offend any idiots in the room. If there's any idiots in the room, like, sorry, you know. But, you know, I didn't know. I knew nothing about nothing when I got here. So for our new folk, keep coming. Because everything I say, everything I know, everything that pertains to myself and alcoholism is all in retrospect. I never brought any of this in here with me. You know, so stick around. And like the beautiful book in the doctor's opinion, I've changed. And we have to induce an entire psychic change. That's what the doctor says. Unless he can induce an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. An entire psychic change, mental change, psychology. We've got to induce an entire psychic change, or there's very little hope of my recovery. Now, what induces an entire psychic change is the 12 spiritual steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, why do we have to induce an entire psychic change? Well, there's a couple of good reasons. One is so we don't drink over not changing, because we have to change. If Mother Teresa was to come amongst us, she'd have to change who she was. See? We have to change. Why do we have to change? Because whatever we already are, the disease is already screwed. And if we don't change, the disease will keep on screwing us. Screwed, screwed, screwed. You know? And I didn't want to keep getting screwed by the disease. Because on page 20 of the beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, it said, if you are an alcoholic who wants to get over it, well, what did I want to get over? I'd never even asked myself that question. What do I want to get over, for heaven's sake? You may already be asking, what do I have to do? Well, who am I asking? What do I have to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know where to do it. I don't know nothing about nothing. So, you know, it was all there in format form for me to follow. What did I want to get over? And was I asking somebody who knew? And, of course, the people who knew were you troops that had gone before me. So you were the people that I asked. And then it goes on from page 20 to page 30. It says, we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. I went, wow. First step in recovery, learn to fully concede to your innermost self you're alcoholic. Well, I don't even know what that is. I don't know I'm alcoholic. What's an alcoholic? Because I didn't know, but you guys did know. You know, where I come from in northwest London, everybody drinks. Don't know why we drink. Never had a reason to drink. Never had a reason to drink. Never had a reason not to drink. Everybody just drank. Don't know why. Nobody ever asked why. Nobody said you should. Nobody said you shouldn't. Everybody just did. We drank if the team won. We drank if the team lost. If it was a tie, we drank till there was a result, you know. I don't know. I come in here and all you folks know why you're doing it. I've heard it here today. People talking about why they drank in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, they drank because they couldn't stand who they was, and they drank because they was hiding behind the pain, and they drank because they had all these issues, you know, like pass the tissues, I got issues, you know. And I thought, at what stage of the game do you discover that? I can't even imagine that, me. I never did that. Where does that come from? I cannot imagine going into any pub I ever drank at and saying to the bartender, bartender, hit me with a triple shot of your best booze. Because I can't stand who I am and I want to cover up the pain tonight. Never happened. Never happened. Oh, Mr. Dealer Man, give me an extra rock of crack cocaine because I really feel inadequate. You know, Never happened, you know. I have no idea why I do what I do. And I'm here and I'm broke, busted, disgusted and not to be trusted. I have no idea what to do, how to do it. And they tell me when I got here I was grey, shaky and smelly. But I thought I was God's gift to the world, you know. January 15th, 1983. You know, a couple of things happened on January the 15th, 1983 that I didn't know was happening at the time. It's all in retrospect that I know about this thing. There's kind of a little story attached to how I got here on January the 15th, 1983. I came off a 3-day run. I was in a 3-day blackout. And if you're a blackout drinker like me, you know, I didn't even know what a blackout was, for heaven's sake. I've been blacking out all my life and I never knew what it was. Being a blackout drinker like me, if you're a blackout, you know, a blackout, for those who don't know, it's alcohol induced, and it's where you do shit that you don't remember, like travel, like travel and shit. You know, I came out of a blackout once walking down the street in Spain. I went out drinking in London, and I'm walking down the street in Spain. I've crossed the continent, and I've gone through customs. You know, I'm walking down the street in Spain with her. This chick from Iceland, she was an Eskimo chick. I don't know where she came from. Who are you? You know? Do you know, I never ever went to bed with an ugly woman. But they changed overnight. You know? And sometimes you wake up next to it, don't you? I've woke up next to it. I woke up next to it this one time and I went, ugly, get out, get out. She said, you get out, this is my house. You know, kick my ass out, you know. I go, oh, shit, you know, I don't know. You know. We laugh about some of our escapades, but, you know, humorous as though some of these things is. You know, I'm a completely illegal person. I've lived all my life outside the law. I'm a criminal, career criminal. And, you know, I came out of a blackout once talking to 3 cops. Huh! I mean, that was so alien to me. Nobody I knew talked to police. And I didn't know what I'd said, you know. You know, I mean, it's fearful. I mean, that kind of thing is frightening. I got released. I tried to count my release dates one day, and you know, I lost count. I lost count of my release dates because I've been incarcerated a great deal of my life, and a great many times. And one time I got released from a maximum security prison, as physically sober as I stand before you right now with 32 years. I've been physically sober many, many times in my life. That's how I know that there's a total difference between sober and sobriety. I know many of us confuse that, and many of us think, oh, it's just semantics. No, it ain't. There is a total difference between sober and sobriety. There's a lot of people in AA that are sober a long time, don't have any sobriety. If you think that's a judgment, you're right. It is. There's a total difference between sober and sobriety. I know that from my personal experience. I've been physically sober many, many times in my life. Every time I was released from a joint, no matter what kind of a joint it was, whether it was maximum security, minimum security, whether it was a nut ward for the criminally insane, whether it was a jitter joint, whatever kind of joint it was, when I got released, I was as physically sober as I stand before you right now. Didn't have any sobriety. We give out those coins and chips and things like that for sober time. We call it sobriety, but it ain't. It's for sober. That's why I know that sober and sobriety are different, totally different. Being sober to me is like the middle ground between drinking and sobriety. Being sober is better than drinking, but it ain't as good as sobriety. And we got a lot to do to earn that sobriety here. And being sober is the base bottom line. Without that, nothing counts. But, I didn't know any of this when I got here. And when I came out of that blackout, from that maximum security prison one time, as physically sober as I stand before you, 6 weeks later, I come out of a blackout and I'm in chains in front of a judge on a murder charge, and I've killed a man and I don't know what I've done. That's where alcohol takes me. I don't go out and have little slippy poos. I go out drinking and come out of blackouts in chains in front of judges on murder charges. That's where alcohol takes me. I stood trial at the Old Bailey, which is, I guess, the equivalent of your Central Criminal Court, whatever it is that you got, Supreme Court or whatever it is. 8-day trial for murder 1. They charged me with murder 1. And why I'm saying this is because you guys taught me something about this. I'm certified insane in 4 different countries. But they never told me about insanity like you guys did. You guys explained insanity that I understood and went to the top. You guys explained insanity to me as being repeating the same behavior and expecting a different result. Drinking. I went, wow. I can assure you they never once came and grabbed my ass in their white coats and said, we're locking you up for repeating the same behavior and expecting a different result. They didn't say that. You guys said that. They knew how to incarcerate me. They knew how to bash me up. They knew how to chain me to padded cells and hurt me and zap me on electric machines and shoot me up with tranks and what have you. But they didn't know what was wrong with me, and they didn't know how to treat me. All my life I went through life doing things like that. Got to Alcoholics Anonymous, very first meeting, guys told me what was wrong with me. Told me I was alcoholic. I didn't know I was alcoholic. How would I know? I couldn't work it out for myself. Didn't know what it was. How could I fully concede to my innermost self that I was alcoholic, this is the first step in recovery, if I didn't know what it was about me that made me alcoholic? I didn't know. It became relatively clear as more got revealed what I did and the consequences of my drinking and stuff. But you know what? Every bit of trouble I've ever been in my entire life, alcohol was in there somewhere. And yet it never ever occurred to me that alcohol was the problem. It just never occurred to me. And it certainly never occurred to me that quitting drinking would be the solution to the problem. That never even dawned on me. That was as far away, Alcohol was the problem and quitting drinking would be the solution. Never even came close. Had no idea. But you guys did. And when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous on January the 15th, 1983, you told me. Prior to getting here, on January the 15th, 1983, I came out of a blackout. And my best friend, who I'd known all my life, we were little gutter snipes out of the Second World War in London, England, where, the bombing and all that, we were just kids and what have you, and we grew up and we robbed and cheated and lied and screwed our way around the planet a couple of times, drinking and drugging. It was great. I mean, I hear you folks say you wouldn't swap your best day sober for your worst day, or your best day drinking for the worst day sober, and I think, well, I don't know where you drank, I mean, I had a great time for long, long times. I mean, drinking and drugging was great. It was great. And then it wasn't so great, but it weren't bad. And then it kind of got bad, but not real bad. And then it kind of got real bad, but not as bad as you. And then it got as bad as you, but not as bad as I'd seen it. Then it got as bad as I'd seen it. Then it got January 15th, 1983, And gradually along the path, of life, I've downward spiraled into the gutter of alcoholism, untreated alcoholism. And I don't know this, folks. I have no idea, And I don't know what you brought to recovery, but what I brought was a lot of hurt and hate. And hurt and hate's not mentioned in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, but that's what I brought here, hurt and hate, I hurt and I hate everything. Everything. I hurt and I hate. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I hate women. I can't stand women. I hate homos and queers and anybody different. I hate black people. I'm totally racist and prejudiced. I'm from London, England, living in Los Angeles, and I hate foreigners. You know. I can't stand me. I hate you, and get away from me and don't come near me. And with all that torment and turmoil going on inside, I still have to try and present to you a picture of somebody you will like. Because when your higher power is what people think of you, if you don't like me, I'm screwed. And our beautiful book talked about that, the image we want to present to people, but we don't feel we deserve. You know, hurt and hate, that's what I brought here. And two things happened on January the 15th, 1983. One was alcohol stopped working. The other was I hit bottom. And I looked for both of those things in the beautiful book Alcoholics Anonymous and didn't find them in the program. Didn't find them there. Didn't know what it was. But I'm jumping the gun a little bit because I've got to back up. I come out of this blackout, this 3-day blackout. My best friend's visiting from Spain. We've known each other all our life. Calls himself an international businessman. International crook is what he is. He's visiting from Spain. Now, when you black out like I do, you don't forget everything. You have little smatterings of memory that you can't quite place together, but you know things ain't right. And I got this kind of like, I call Mickey on the phone. His name's Mickey too, M&M. I call him up, and he's pissed off. I said, what's the matter with you? And I didn't realise that that's what I always said. What's wrong with you? Not me, you. He said, it's all right. I know it won't happen again because I won't be in your company when you're drinking anymore. I said, what? He said, why don't you just piss off? We'd known each other all our life, and as a result of my drink, he was telling me to piss off. Robbed and cheated and lied and screwed our way. We'd been in and out of, like, institutions. We've done robberies on the pavement, armoured cars, or the whole damn bit. And he's telling me to piss off because of my drinking. I'm thinking, wow, screw you. And put the phone down. Well, this other guy, this English rock and roll singer, had been lurking around. He just seemed to have been around a lot at that particular time. I didn't know he was 12-stepping me, but he was. He was 2.5 years sober, and he was 12-stepping a sick drunk like me. Well, you know an alcoholic with a phone. So I call him, don't I? I call up this guy. He's laughing. Ha 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 ha! I said, what are you laughing at? He said, you. I said, why? He said, because you do weird shit, that's why. I said, what do you mean? And he let out a big belly laugh. Ha ha ha! I said, what do you keep laughing for all the bloody time? I'm a delicate dude. I've got all these feelings, you know. He said, I ain't had a drink for 2.5 years. I said, ain't you? How come? I never knew he hadn't had a drink for 2.5 years. You know, I mean, as long as I was, I didn't care that he wasn't, you know. He said, because I used to drink like you. I said, what do you mean? Oh, will you stop laughing for Christ's sake? What the hell happened? He said, you don't remember what you got up to over the weekend, do you? I said, no, I don't remember. He said, have you spoke to your friend Mickey from Spain? I said, yeah, told me to piss off. And he let out this big belly laugh. I said, for crying out, what's wrong with you? What happened? He said, well, it all started after you peed in that lady's dinner. I said, what? He said, don't you remember your friend took us to that posh, smart Beverly Hills restaurant, and in the middle of the restaurant you got all ticked off at some old dame, and you got up and walked across the store and whacked it out and did it right in her plate. I went, oh my God, because I didn't remember peeing in no old lady's dinner. But I would do shit like that, and I wouldn't remember it, so I would go back in that restaurant or club or whatever it was, and they'd go, oh, how the hell you got the balls to come in here after what you did? And I go, what do you mean? you know, and they'd call the cops and I'd get locked up or be in trouble again, and that's why it went on and on and on and on like that. I went, oh, God, I'll have to talk to you later. You couldn't, you know. I put the phone down. I'm sitting on my couch in front of my coffee table. On the coffee table was a beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, 3rd edition. Sitting on the top of the book was a meeting directory, a Los Angeles meeting directory. It's quite thick, that one. We got 3,000 meetings a week. And I looked, and, you know, I just looked. I was just playing, what is this sitting there? It transpired that the girl who was renting the bedroom in my one-bedroom apartment, you know, because I'm very inventive, you know, and she was paying the rent for the whole place, and I had a mattress in a closet off of the lounge, and this was in West Hollywood. And for those who know West Hollywood, it's a special part of town, you know, commonly referred to as Boys Town, you know. When you come out of a closet in Boys Town, it takes on a different meaning, you know what I mean? Anyway, this girl, she wasn't an alcoholic addict, but she'd made a mistake. She actually smoked a doobie and took a wrong turn and went up a one-way street, got seen by a cop. Cop busted her. She went to court and they sentenced her to 90 meetings in 90 days. And you guys had given her a big book and a meeting directory in case she needed it, like you do. You treated her nicely, and she came home. She didn't need it. She just made a mistake, but it left there. And they say when the pupil's ready, the master appears. And it was there for me when I needed it. And I picked it up and I was looking at it and I was flicking through the meeting directory. And if you're an alcoholic addict like me, and you come out and you're detoxing and you're withdrawing and you reach a stage where you just can't get comfortable and your skin don't fit and you hurt and you just got to get out and go somewhere. You don't know where you're going to go, but you just got to go, you know. And I had to get out. And I flipped in this book and I happened to spot that there was a meeting just down the road in West Hollywood, you know, that I could walk to, you know, a noon meeting at Alcoholics Anonymous. And it had to be a meeting that I could walk to. And we're blessed in Los Angeles. You can hardly spit without hitting a meeting in Los Angeles. And I could walk to this meeting. And the unmanageability of the first step was that I had a little red sports car in the garage, but it hadn't run for 12 months or 3 months and wasn't likely to that day either. So I could walk to this meeting, and I walked down San Vicente Hill to this meeting, a meeting called Architects of Adversity. I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm grey, shaky, and smelly. As I approached that meeting, I don't know nothing about Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know nothing about the format. I don't know nothing about alcoholics participating in their own recovery, alcoholics having a home group, alcoholics taking a commitment, 2 guys outside being greeters, welcoming wet drunks like me as we showed up. I don't know nothing about this. As I approached that meeting there in West Hollywood, and bear in mind, West Hollywood was like a totally gay town. As I approached that meeting, one of these dudes steps forward with his hand out like that. I said, what do you want? He said, I want to welcome you to AA. I said, what? He said, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, what? And the other guy stepped forward with his hand out. He said, keep coming back. I thought he said, keep coming on my back. I said, what? He said, keep coming back. I said, what for? He said, we love you. I said, I bet you do, you know. When dudes tell you they love you in West Hollywood, you get a bit nervous, you know. I snuck round them and I walked to the little community centre doorway there, and I looked in the community centre, little room, it was full of smoke. You know, they smoked in meetings then, and I looked in and I stood in that doorway and I went, wow, what is this? There were some celebrities in there that I already knew, and I went, wow, holy shit. The first thing I remember is that everybody was talking. Weren't nobody listening. Everybody talking. Alcoholics, you know. And I went, wow, holy shit. And I got to tell you, 32 years later, I'm still saying wow. You know, it's more thrilling to me to be among you today than it's ever been. I'm more thrilled, more exhilarated to be an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous today than I've ever been. And every day, including today, I go, wow, you know. And you know what? If you were to say, here's $1,000, Mick, tell me the last 2 days in a row that you didn't go to a meeting, I wouldn't be able to take your money. I go to meetings. I go to lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of meetings. Always, I go to meetings. I never stop going to meetings. Number one reason for relapse, RELAPSC, recovery exits, life and programs seem empty. Number one reason for relapse, people stop coming here. So I keep coming. I keep coming. You know, and I'm going to keep coming as well. I'm an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous in good standing, and I know what's wrong with me and I know what to do about it because I keep coming here. And the very first words I heard was keep coming back before I even got into the meeting. Well, I get into this meeting and I stand there, and down the centre of the room comes another English rock and roll singer that I've known for a long time. And he walks up to me and he does like what me and Steve just done. He put his arms around me. I went, "What are you doing?" He said, "Giving you a hug." I went, "Get away from me, you bloody pervert, get away from me." Because I don't know nothing about love and kindness and all that stuff. You show me love and kindness, I take that as weakness and just gobble you up and hurt you and take what you got, because that's all I know. Today, as you saw, me and Steve give each other hugs. HUGS, hugs help us get sober. And when we're sober, HUGS, hugs help us grow spiritually. I love that. We give hugs. Keep giving us hugs, folks. You know. He put his arms around me. I went, "Get away." I said, "What are you doing here? You're bloody mental, you are." He said, "I'm leading the meeting." I said, "How come, nutcase?" He said, "Like, I'm 22 months sober." I wasn't impressed. I can remember taking half a step back. I went, "What? 22 months sober? I don't want to catch that. What's that?" You know, I don't want to catch that. He said, "Here, talk to these guys." I said, "I don't want to talk to no guys." He said, "That's what we do here. We talk to each other. We welcome each other," which we do, don't we? Like we welcomed our new people here. We welcome each other and we welcome them back, and we like you did with me. But I didn't want to talk to these guys, but these guys wouldn't shut up. They had their bloody nose in my ear. Talk. You know, I'm going to. And they said, "You know, you're alcoholic." One of them got up in my face and said, "You're alcoholic." I said, "What?" He said, "You're alcoholic." I said, "That's a bloody mean thing to say to somebody, that is. What do you say a mean thing like that to somebody for?" He said, "You're alcoholic." I said, "Why'd you say that?" He said, "Because if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and sounds like a duck and smells like a duck, it's a bloody duck. Just because he's been taking some shit and thinks he's an eagle, no, you're a duck. You're a duck, I'm a duck. Quack, quack," he went. I went, "Holy shit, what is this? This is the bloody funny farm, man. You know, guys loving on you and shit, and ducks and eagles and shit. You know, what is that?" Well, I didn't know it at the time, that he was breaking through the big bad barrier of denial that I had up against the whole lot, against the world and everything in it. I didn't know that he was laying the grounds for me to understand about myself and about what it was about me that made me alcoholic. I didn't know that at the time, but I do today. And you know what? Our beautiful book don't say we don't tell folk they're alcoholic. It says we prefer not to, which is a totally different thing. When Bill and Bob were doing The Third Man on the Bed, Bill Dodson, they told him, "You are an alcoholic." He said, "I didn't think much of that." But, you know, they told him, "You're an alcoholic." You know, he said, "I figured I was just a drunk." They said, "No, we got something wrong with us." And they went on to expand, you know, and you'll find it in the beautiful book. And that's what you guys did with me. And I didn't know at the time that, because I didn't know shit, you know. I mean, I just didn't know, and I was confused. And, you know, I'm intelligent. I'm a character. I know what I'm, you know, but I couldn't grasp this thing. I went round asking, "What is it about me that makes me alcoholic?" What is it about you that makes you alcoholic? It says we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. It's the first step in recovery, but it's not the first of the 12 steps. That's a totally different step. And if you read the step, it don't say nothing in the first of the 12 steps, anything about admitting you're alcoholic. But many people confuse it. Many well-meaning people confuse it. I was at the first step meeting in Las Vegas recently, and a man who's really loved with 46 years, he shared in the meeting, and he said that he had no trouble with the first of the 12 steps. He knew he was an alcoholic, and he had no problem admitting it. And I went up to him after, I said, why do you say that? He said, because it's first step. I said, okay, well then endorse it for me. Show me where it says anything about admitting you're alcoholic in the first of the 12 steps. He said, I'm 46 years sober, I know what I'm talking about. I said, obviously not, you're full of shit. You ain't 46 years spewing out crap all over us, nothing to do with nothing. Because he didn't know, see. He said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Yeah. I thought, no wonder. Because it ain't, see, we got to be carrying this message, not those messages, but some of the stuff, well-meaning perhaps, but we got to be sure about this thing. The first step is not only the only step we can do 100%, but it's the only step we have to do 100%. And I wanted to know what it was, because the first step in recovery is what I call the step before the steps. It's not the first of the 12 steps, and nowhere does it say anything about admitting we're alcoholic. In the step before the steps, we learned. We had to learn. Now, I don't hear a lot of that. I don't hear a lot of people saying, I want to learn, will you help me, can you teach me? I hear a lot of I know, followed by yeah, but, I know, yeah, but, I know, yeah, but, the mating call of arseholes, It don't say, I know, yeah, but. It says, we learned. We had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. Well, how can I do that if I don't even know what it is about me that makes me alcoholic? So I went round asking, what is it about me that makes me alcoholic? What is it about you? Do you know what? I don't know whether you know or not, but a lot of people I asked didn't know. They thought, believed, and said they did know. But they actually didn't, because when I asked them, they couldn't give me the answer. Everybody could say they was an alcoholic. Everybody could tell you what they did because they were alcoholic. Everybody could tell you the consequences and the results of their drinking. But that's not what makes us alcoholic. You could read that in a library book. What makes us alcoholic and separates us from the non-alcoholic, our Al-Anon friends, for example, is something that differentiates us between us and them. I was raised as an only child in a family of 5 children. I'm an alcoholic. I got 3 sisters and a brother, not alcoholic. They don't know why I drink. I don't know why they don't. I ask them, why don't you drink? They say, I don't like it. I say, what? What don't you like about it? They say, well, if I have one too many, I feel sick. I say, sick? You got to drink past that. I mean, who stops at sick? I mean, I puke, but I don't stop drinking. They don't laugh. They think I'm weird. Any other weirdos here tonight? Yeah, no shit. All my life I've heard people say, what is wrong with you? The hell's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? For Christ's sake, what is wrong with you? What the hell's wrong with you? Get the hell away from me, weirdo. What the hell's wrong with you? And they would ask me what's wrong with me as if I knew. What is wrong with you? Oh, actually, I've got a twofold disease. It's an obsession of the mind, allergy of the body, can't control my drinking. I don't know what's wrong with me. What's wrong with you? Why do you drink like you do? I don't know. Why don't you drink like I do? Because I don't know. See, I have no idea. I have no idea what's wrong with me, and I don't know nothing about nothing. But you guys did. The duck and the eagle story. You know, what it is about us, and it's the same for me as it is for you, folks. We're not different. You know, it's the same for you as it is for me. What makes us alcoholic? Found it in the doctor's opinion. See, what it is about us that makes us alcoholic isn't what I do because I'm alcoholic. No more than being broke is not being able to pay your rent. You know, not paying your rent may be a result of being broke, but it's not what being broke means. And nor is one's too many, 1,000 ain't enough, once I start I can't stop, once I put a drink in my body of any data. That's not what makes me alcoholic. That's all true if I'm alcoholic, but there's something specific that differentiates me from the non-alcoholic. It's the same for you. What it is, I found in the doctor's opinion. It was the duck and the eagle story. What it is about me that makes me alcoholic is that alcohol... Now, what I'm about to say, when I say it, everybody in the room will say, I knew that, I was going to say that. He didn't give me a chance to finish. Unless I asked you now before I say it, and then you won't know. But here it is. What makes us alcoholic is that alcohol changes my perception of reality. Now, I know everybody knew that, unless I'd asked you first, because I went round asking, and nobody told me. I had to find it out. And I found it in the doctor's opinion. In the doctor's opinion, it said, men and women drink primarily because they like the effect produced by alcohol. I went, yeah, well, that's true. That's kind of common. It didn't say alcoholic men and women. It said men and women like the effect produced by alcohol. What's the effect produced by alcohol? Alcohol changes how I feel. I feel all shitty or I feel one way. I drink and it changes how I feel better. Great, nothing wrong with that. It's this weekend. All over Lincoln, people are out enjoying a drink, socialising, social lubricant. Nothing wrong with that at all. Unless you're allergic to it, like an alcoholic. It's kind of like penicillin. Nothing wrong with penicillin. It's a wonder drug, unless you're allergic to it. And if you're allergic to it and they give you a shot of it in the emergency room or something, put you in a coma, might even die. Wonder drug. Same with alcohol. Nothing wrong with alcohol unless you're alcoholic and allergic to it. See? And that's what alcohol does. It changes how I feel. Now, for the real alcoholic who continues to drink and drinks over what we call an invisible line and becomes alcoholic, so much for those people who think they were born an alcoholic. That's another tangent that I won't bother going into. We drink over and cross over what we call an invisible line and then become alcoholic. Now the rules have changed. Now it's not the effect of drinking alcohol. Now I'm in the grips of alcoholism. With alcoholism, it don't change how I feel. It changes my perception of reality. It changes me from restless, irritable and discontent to a sense of ease and comfort as taking a couple of drinks. Drinks I see other people taking with impunity, like my three sisters and brother. My three sisters and brother like a drink. Once in a while they get drunk. But come Monday morning, they take their kids to school, they pay their bills, take care of their responsibilities. They don't end up in detox like me because they're an alcoholic. I is, they isn't. Same blood, same family, same environment, same everything. I is, they isn't. Now there's a little tangent to that story. My three sisters and brother got 2 kids. Well, I got 2 kids. I'd never been married, never had a wife of my own, but I got, I got 2 kids. I is, my kids ain't. My 3 sisters isn't, their kids are. And I'm there for them. That's what we're dealing with here. Alcohol changes my perception of reality. Alcoholics Anonymous changes my perception to reality. Alcohol changes how I feel. Alcoholism changes my perception of reality. Alcoholics Anonymous changes my perception to reality. You think I knew that when I got here? I had no idea. Alcohol changes me from a duck to an eagle. I go out drinking as a delicate little duck. I have a few stiff ones and turn into an eagle and go swooping around looking for prey. And that's not P-R-A-Y either. Mary in my home group back there in Santa Monica puts it as well as I've ever heard anybody put it. She's a delicate little dudette, is Mary. You know, bad-ass drunk is Mary. She says when she drinks, she feels wittier, prettier, and tiddier. You know. And I know exactly what she means. It changes her from a wallflower to come and get some of this, big boy. I know exactly what she means. And so, now I've got a basis. I had to learn to fully... And I don't hear a lot of that in our meetings. I don't hear a lot of, I want to learn to fully concede to my innermost self. Will you help me? I hear a lot of admittance, acceptance, and surrender. But I look for admittance, acceptance, and surrender in the beautiful book Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't find it in the program. There was stories and stuff. In fact, my sponsor wrote about acceptance. He was my sponsor for 3 years. I can tell you, the guy who wrote about acceptance never had the most of it, I can promise you that. But anyway, admittance, acceptance, and surrender ain't mentioned in the program. But that's what I'm hearing in our meetings. And because they're talking about admittance, acceptance, and surrender, they ain't talking about what is in the program, which is learning to fully concede to your innermost self that you are. And it's very important. It's the first step in recovery. And not only the kicker really is that, look, admittance, acceptance, and surrender is like choices and preferences and decisions. But learning to fully concede to our innermost self that we are alcoholic isn't. It says we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed. So we had to do it, and it has to be done. Nothing optional there. Nothing take what you want and leave the rest there. We had to do it, and it has to be done. But I'm not hearing about it. So the newcomer is not getting our message in our meetings. We have a responsibility, as you had to me. We have to the new guy coming in. Now, I meet a lot of people that are sober a long time. Often they don't know jack shit. But they're sober 10, 15, 20 years plus. I don't give an iota about those folks. Maybe you. I don't care whether you agree with me or whether you take what I got to offer. Whatever you believe, you know how to stay sober believing it. You may think it means standing on the corner with your thumb stuck up your butt. It don't, but you may believe that. And I don't give a shit about you. But I do care about this guy that you may be relying on what you tell him to save his arse, and he's going to go out and die if he doesn't get this message. And if he don't get our message and goes out and dies, and you stay sober, and then you can turn around with your group ego and say, I guess he just didn't want it bad enough. I guess he just wasn't ready. Oh, well, we'll be here if he makes it back. He was ready. He wanted it. We didn't tell him this message. We told him those messages. So we have a responsibility for that, my friends. And for that, I'm responsible. And Gus, my guy upstairs, G-U-S, the guy upstairs, he says, Mick, I gave you a life. Do with it what you want. But don't hurt one of my kids. That offends me. And I'm not in the business of offending Gus. I love God, and I never brought that in here with me. January 15th, 1983, full of hurt and hate, two things happened. One was alcohol stopped working. Now, to understand that, I needed to understand step one, powerlessness, but I didn't. And the other thing was that I hit bottom. Two things that happened. Alcohol stopped working and hitting bottom. And it's not mentioned in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. But as promised, more was revealed to Bill as it's promised would be revealed to us. And although Bill never wrote anything about hitting bottom in the program, in the 12 and 12, we got a copy of it here, this beautiful book, the 12 and 12, on the very first step he says, why all this insistence that every alcoholic must hit bottom first? Wow. That's some ballsy shit to say to a bunch of drunks, isn't it? Drunks like you and me who don't like authoritative figures and being told what to do, like maybe I'm sounding up here. Hit bottom on this, Father Mucker, But we had to do it, and it has to be done. Hitting bottom. And why it's so imperative that we all have to hit bottom first is because hitting bottom is the process that brings us back to the power that disease has gotten me to abandon. Wow. Wow, what was that? Holy shit. I didn't know that this disease, this negative power, cunning, baffling and powerful, along the path of life, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, had gotten me to abandon all forms of spirituality where alcohol was concerned. And it made me do what I already didn't want to do, and I couldn't not do it just because I didn't want to. I had to not want to do it, then do these steps in this work so that I don't do what I already don't want to do. And if I ain't doing these steps in this work or ain't done these steps in this work, I will do what I don't want to do, because the disease I got that I'm powerless over will make me do what I don't want to do. You think I knew that shit when I got here? Never had a clue. Never knew nothing about nothing. See, long before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, long before the onset of untreated alcoholism, I was downward spiraling, and this disease, cunning, baffling and powerful. Remember the book says, remember we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling and powerful. Cunning, baffling and powerful. Wow. It goes on to say, there's one who has all power, that one is God, may you find him now. Well, if I got to find him, it means I ain't got him. And if he's the source and he's the power over everything, and I'm powerless over alcohol, it must mean I'm godless where alcohol is concerned. Holy shit. The very word, powerless. Less power. My spiritual dilemma. Lack of power was our dilemma. Lack of power, lack of God. It wasn't hard to work out, was it? How come I lack God? Wait a minute. Cunning, baffling and powerful. One who has all power, that one is God. Does that mean God's got all the power except the power that the disease has got? That didn't make sense. I couldn't work that one out. I went, wow. But I stuck around and I went and asked and I learned. I learned here with you guys because it said we had to learn. I learned that the disease was the negative power, the devil, if you like. And along the path of life, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, the disease gets me to abandon all forms of positive power, God, so that it can become the power in my life, dictating and dominating everything I say, do, think and feel. And in and of myself, I'm helpless, hopeless and powerless to resist its demands and have to do what it wants me to do, which is drink. You think I knew that when I got here? I had no idea. Powerless. And powerless wasn't what I did because I was powerless. How did I find that out? I went round and asked. I went round and asked you guys. And you guys kept telling me what the results of your drinking was and what the results of being powerless was, but not what powerless meant. But again, I stuck with the book and it taught me. Lack of power was my dilemma. Okay. All right. Hitting bottom. Hitting bottom. Wow. Hitting bottom was the process that brought me back to the power that the disease had gotten me to abandon. Whatever form of God or Jesus or power or Muhammad or Buddha or Allah or whatever you believe in, you ain't got it when you get here where alcohol is concerned. Singleness of purpose. You know? And alcohol had stopped working. Well, what did that mean? I went round asking people, what does it mean alcohol stopped working? They didn't know. It was chronic. You'd be amazed at what I was told. Alcohol stopping working. I just said to a guy yesterday, as a matter of fact, he said, alcohol stopped working. I said, what happened? He said, I got drunk, went into a blackout and got locked up. I said, that's not alcohol not working, that's alcohol working. What do you mean? He said, you don't understand. I said, and it's fine, and it's strange. I don't understand. You keep getting loaded, but I don't understand. And that's strange. See, alcohol stopping working isn't that alcohol don't get me drunk, don't rock my lever and don't stop, getting me locked up. Alcohol stopping working still does all that, but alcohol stops changing my perception of reality. so that I can live in this rotten world with you rotten people doing rotten shit that I can't stand. You know? See, and I don't know none of this. Alcohol stopped working. And I'm so grateful that I was blessed with the gift of desperation. G-O-D, gift of desperation. And you know what? I hit bottom. H-I-T-B-O-T-T-O-M. Hurting inside, totally burnt out, turned to our master. I didn't know this disease had gotten me to turn away from the master. But guess what? In desperation and despair, without knowing what I was saying, without knowing who I was saying it to, and without knowing what the consequences and results of what I was saying was going to be, I can clearly remember going, help me, please help me, what's wrong with me? And asked for help from outside of myself. ASK, Ask Saving Kit. Help, H-E-L-P, His ever-loving presence. And guess what? Although this disease had gotten me to abandon him, he hadn't abandoned me. And when I turned back to him and asked for help, he seemed to be looking over my shoulder, and he seemed to say, Mick, you silly bastard, I've been waiting for you to ask. Now get yourself over that 12-step fellowship. Sent me to you. I asked for help, and he sent me to you. Because here was the power he'd provided for an alcoholic of my kind, your kind, our kind, the beautiful book says, to not have to drink today. Here it was, right here, right now, in rooms like this. The power to not have to drink. You know, in our very first step, you can have a bit of fun with your sponsor on this one, or maybe your sponsees. I was talking to Sherry and a couple of other people today about it, and we was having a bit of fun. Our first step says, we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Guess what? We've never done that. We've never done that in Alcoholics Anonymous. We've never admitted that we were powerless, that our lives had become unmanageable. You know why? Because we ain't. We ain't powerless. We are a power so strong we can resist the obsession to drink. You were powerless, I was powerless, but we ain't powerless. We are the backbone of what everything about Alcoholics Anonymous maintains. Two alcoholics come together to do together what they couldn't do apart. We haven't been powerless since Bill met Bob, for Christ's sake. We admitted we were powerless. We've never done that. Can you follow that? You're looking a very little bit stymied here. Like, you can have a bit of fun with that one. You know. But here was the power, right here, right now, in rooms like this all over the world. Alcoholics come together to do together what they couldn't do apart. You couldn't stay sober, I couldn't stay sober, but we can stay sober. Here's a power greater than us. And whatever form of God or Jesus or Buddha or Allah or Muhammad or whatever form you've got, you ain't got it where alcohol's concerned when you get here, and you haven't come and joined us yet, so you don't have the power of me plus you is a power greater than me. You plus us is a power greater than you. Together we can do what I couldn't do alone. And in those times of incarceration where I was on bread and water or in the hole, sometimes they let you read the Bible. I like the Bible, nothing wrong with the Bible. Nothing wrong with the Bible as long as you don't want to treat your alcoholism with it, because the Bible don't treat alcoholism. Big Book treats alcoholism. You know, B-I-B-L-E, being informed before leaving earth. I like the Bible. And in the Bible it said, when any two are gathered in my name, there I will be in your midst. And I went, whoa, that's what we do here in AA. Two alcoholics come together for the purpose of recovery. God comes in our midst and produces a power greater than either of us. So it's produced by us, but it's greater than us, and we can absolutely depend upon it to not have to drink today. I went, wow, that's far out. You know, I like that. So I stick with you and I keep coming back. And it's a strange and wonderful thing. Look, our wonderful trusted servant told us there was upwards of 500 people registered for here. Well, guess what? There may be 500 different concepts of God. In our beautiful book, it says he can choose any concept of God he likes, provided it makes sense to him. That's a condition. Provided that is a condition. this book that says of itself, may have meant to be unconditional, but it ain't. He can choose any concept of God he likes, provided it makes sense to him. So my troops, I want to know, what is the sense that it makes to you? Give it to me. It ain't got to make sense to me, but I want to know that you've got something that makes sense to you. You know what? They flounder. What do you mean, can't explain God? What do you mean, don't understand God? Better have something that makes sense to you. Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, when them demons are screaming and your ass is in a sling and your guts are being torn out by the phenomenon of craving and you've got a drink so bad you can taste it, you better have something more going for you than the fact that you don't want to do it. And that something better makes sense to you other than the yin or the yang or the zen or the zoo or the astroplaning sky or whatever. Something that you can grasp and hang on to that's going to save your ass at 2 o'clock in the morning, as Alcoholics Anonymous do. You know, I don't know none of this when I get here. But there's a beautiful thing. If there's 500 different concepts of God right here, right now, in this very room, and there may well be, guess what? They've all got at least one thing in common with everybody else's. Everybody's power greater than themselves in this room has something in common with everybody else's. Know what that is? It's very simple. All the gods send their alkies here. That's good shit, isn't it? Because here's the power they provided for an alkie to not have to drink today. And this power works for all alkies. Don't matter whether you're atheist, whether you're agnostic, whether you believe, whether you don't believe, whether you do want, whether you don't want, it don't matter. When two alkies come together, God comes in our midst, 1 and 1 make 3. That's good shit, isn't it? I didn't know none of this when I got here. I had no idea. I'd hit bottom, but I didn't know what hitting bottom meant. I went round asking, you know, what does it mean? What does hitting bottom mean? I went around asking, you'd be amazed, because most people didn't know. They thought, believed and said they did know, but they actually didn't. And I asked people, what does it mean, hitting bottom? You'd be amazed at what you guys told me, for heaven's sake. Most people think hitting bottom's about the outside circumstances and conditions of our life, at the tail end of our drinking. So they tell you these devastating drunkalogs, these devastating stories, you know, about disease and detox and home gone, family gone, kids gone, you know, destitution, disease, you know. But that's not what our bottom is. You know, that's the consequences and the results of our bottom, but that's the outside circumstances and conditions of our life. And hitting bottom isn't about the outside circumstances and conditions of our life. Hitting bottom's an inside job, not an outside circumstance. And the danger of believing that those outside circumstances is the bottom is that as those outside circumstances get better and improve, we falsely believe we've gotten better and improved and drink again. Don't do that. You know, find out what this means. I asked one little couple that I work with, I tell this story because I'm very fond of this couple, and they work hard at their sobriety and they love being clean and sober. And I hold my troops back because I want to know basic fundamental stuff that's mentioned in our program that a lot of people don't understand in our rooms. And I asked them, look, Bill says every alcoholic must hit bottom first. Have you hit bottom? The little chickadee, she said, yes, Mick, I've hit bottom. I said, I'm curious, tell me about it. She said, you know, I was feet to the curb, hustling the Broadway, prostituting myself, trying to earn $1 so I could get loaded. I said, that wasn't your bottom. She said, well, I think it was. I said, I don't give a shit what you think. I said to her, dude, have you hit bottom, pal? Yes, Mick, he said, I've hit bottom. I said, tell me about it. He said, it's easy. I was locked up in a penitentiary, married to Bubba. I said, that wasn't your bottom. He said, it felt like it was. Bad minds, they got bad minds. Hitting bottom's an inside job, not an outside circumstance. I needed to know that. And you guys taught me. And like our beautiful book, yes, we have to stay sober. Without that, nothing counts. But in the beautiful book, it says, elimination of our drinking is but a beginning. A far greater demonstration of our principles lies before us in our respective homes, occupations, and affairs. Now, people say, well, I'm sober today, all we got is today, one day at a time, I'm sober today. I say, okay, if that's all you want, stay at the beginning. Our book says elimination of drinking is about a beginning. If that's all you want, just to be sober, stay at the beginning. Stay a newcomer, I don't care. Go and chain yourself to a tree. It won't work, but you'll be tied for first place in AA. You know? You know? Elimination of our drinking is but a beginning. We get to apply these principles to all our affairs. Now, we talked earlier, one of our earlier people talked about affairs. You know, I mean, we have these affairs down in Santa Monica. We have affairs. We're no good at them, but we don't give them up, you know. You have them here? Do you have affairs here? No? I wrote a word, relationships, the R word. R-E-L-A-T-I-O-N-S-H-I-P. Really exciting love affair turns into outrageous nightmare. Sobriety hangs in peril. You know? You dig it? Yeah. All the sickos like that one. You've got to be careful of that laughter, folks. I'll tell you, if you're wondering whether you is or whether you isn't a real alcoholic, I'll give you a clue. You better not have laughed in here tonight. Because they say if you're laughing, you're relating. And if you're relating to a sick bastard like me, there ain't no doubt about you, pal, I tell you. I don't get through to no well people. Well people don't laugh at my shit. My mum don't laugh at my shit. My mum don't laugh. My mum suffered the ravagings of my alcoholism all her life. She don't laugh. Every year I go home to London, England, to see me mum. First thing I do when I hit the shores, I go round her house, I knock her up, I tell her, Mum, I'm 32 years sober. She says, so is the cat. She don't give me no pat on the back for not doing something I shouldn't have done anyway. I'm busy, she says, I'm going to bingo. You know? But she didn't like it when I come home and puked on the cat. Have you ever puked on the cat? Because I'm a puker. And I ain't no dribble-ass puker, like I could probably hit your foot from here, whoosh, like that, you know. You know, if you're a puker like me, you come home and you're all shit-faced and you can feel it coming because you've done it a million times before, and you gag and then you swallow it back down, you know. And then you can feel it coming. It's going to be a gusher. Right on the cat. And you look at the cat and you think, shit, I don't remember eating that. And then the cat gets up and runs off and shit with bits of carrot on it, you know. Carrot and corn. Where does that carrot and corn come from? Every time, I tell you, I can never remember eating carrot and corn, but every time I puke, there it was, carrot and corn. Bloody cat runs off covered in carrot and corn, you know. My mum never laughed at that shit. You know. I used to drive my mum crazy with my hearing problem because I don't hear shit right, you know. Have I got a minute or two? I would come home shit-faced and, you know, stumble bumming around and typical alcoholic. Alcoholics have this insane belief that they know how to be quiet, you know. And you come... Mum's in her bed. She hears everything in our house. I mean, you couldn't get one over on my mum in her house. That was her domain. She knew everything that went on in that house. And I'd come home all shit-faced, and she'd hear everything. She'd yell out down the stairs, "Drunk again, son!" And I'd go, "So am I, Mum." You know, she's "I'm not bloody drunk. I've been in bed since 8 o'clock. The hell's wrong with you?" But what is wrong with you? And I wouldn't get it, and I'd think, well, why did she say she was drunk then? You know, she's messing with me is what she is, because I don't hear shit right. It never happened just because I got here. Years before I got here, that's how one of the ways I learned about alcohol changing my perception of reality. Because when I was just a little kid, it was so painful and devastating where I came from. You know, I mean, I couldn't stand it. So people would tell me shit and I wouldn't like it, couldn't stand it. So I would mentally change it to something I did like and then blame you for telling me. And they'd say, there's something wrong with this kid. This kid will get you in trouble. Lock him up, put him away somewhere, put him in a home somewhere. And that's, I mean, I don't know, I'm a little kid. And they'd, away I'd go again. Well, later on, I found alcohol and, in my case, drugs. DRUGS, Devil's Revenge upon God's Subjects. And if you're alcoholic like me, we have to include all mind, mood, altering chemicals that affect you from the neck up. Yes, we're talking alcohol, and yes, we're talking alcoholism, but it has to include those other mind, mood, altering chemicals that affect you from the neck up. And if the first thing in your head just said, well, what about my meds? You may want to reevaluate that too, because that's not what I'm talking about. But I loved, I'm a real alcoholic. Everything about me is alcoholic. Everything I say, do, think and feel is alcoholic. It's not just a part of me alcoholic or a big part of me that ain't alcoholic. I'm all alcoholic, see? So consequently, being a real alcoholic, I have the right to be dysfunctional in as many ways as I like. Don't tell me, I'm limited or restricted. If there's good dysfunction out there, I want my share of it. And I don't only want my share of it, I want your share too. Don't matter what it is, I just want more of it. Everything, just want more. I'd even want more herpes than you. I just would. I just want more. And I mean, it don't... Look, even today, over there we had that cheesecake dessert and what have you. Now, I'm trying to watch my figure and I'm trying to eat a little bit different. I got love handles no one's grabbing. But, I go and scan that shit and the sensible voice says, you don't need none of that shit, Mick. You got love handles no one's grabbing. You don't need to eat that. And the little boy in me says, well, I like sticky shit. What's wrong? I want some sticky shit. And then the alcoholic said, take 2 pieces, big pieces. Grab it quick. Be careful of that laughter. Anyway, I got to wrap this up, I guess, and I'd just like to pass on the message, because I'm not the same guy that came in here, all those years ago, my mum just passed, and I get emotional, but my mum passed, and she was going in and out of a coma. She was 88. She wanted to go. She was ready. She said she was tired, wanted to go. And she was in her bed, and my 3 sisters were sitting around the bed, and they were paying attention to her. And at one stage, she sat up, and had a big, broad grin on her face. And they said, are you all right, Mum? What's the matter? She said, Mickey's doing good in AA in America. And she laid back and passed. And I think to myself, how does a guy like me come out of a nut ward for the criminally insane, put a smile on an old lady's face as she goes to meet her maker? It happens right here is how that happens. That hurt and hate that I brought in here, I told you about. I was in the UK fairly recently, and I told that story. And at the end of the meeting, like is customary, folks come up and they thank you. And I saw this little lady come walking towards me. I was actually watching her as she walked towards me, clutching a beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous. This little fat, black, gay, feminine female. And she walked up to me and she said, you don't still hate folk, do you? And I looked at her and I said, how long are you sober, love? She said, 32 days. And she was on fire. I went, here, give me that book. And I took her book and I wrote in her book, lots and lots and lots of love. Keep coming back. She clutched her book and held it to her chest and went waddling off back to Africa or wherever she came from. How does that happen? That change that we develop in Alcoholics Anonymous happens right here is how it is. If we stick around here and do what we do here. That's why I give you my phone number. My telephone number is 818 area code, are you sober? 818 are you, like Toys R Us, SOBER. 818, not 800, you cheap bastards. 818. 818-RUSOBER. Son of a bitch, everything's real. That's what being sober is. And I love that, you know. And you guys taught me that. How long have I been yakking this up for? I got a minute? There's a little tangent. Look, when I got home from that first meeting that I went to, I had 2 telephone numbers in my hand. And I didn't know that I was beginning to learn what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous. One guy told me, come, we got to wash the cups. I said, I don't want to wash the cups. 200 rotten ass cups. Wash the cups. Don't want to wash the cups. Go and get drunk. Don't want to get drunk. Come wash the cups. I'm washing the bloody cups. 200 hairy ass cups. Took me an hour after the meeting. I felt like a right dick. The next week he said, come, we'll go and wash the cups. I said, we washed them last week. He said, what's the need again? I said, don't wash my own cups. He said, go and get drunk. Don't want to get drunk. Come and wash the cups. Washing the bloody cups out, up to my elbows in water, felt like a right nerd, washing 200 rotten ass mugs. Went on for 4 months. 4 months later, I'm still washing goddamn cups, hating every minute of it. One day, a guy came and stood at the end of the sink. I said, what do you want? He said, sponsor said I've got to wash the cups. I said, what cups? He said, I guess them cups. I said, piss off and get your own cups. You ain't having my cups. These are my cups. Well, I didn't know in the way we do in Alcoholics Anonymous, she was teaching me how to become a giver and a contributor instead of a leech, sucking and leeching off of everybody like I did. And when I got home from that first meeting with those 2 telephone numbers in my hand, I've been an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous from day one. Because, you know, I had 2 numbers and I called one of them. Now, I know you don't, but I did. I called one of the numbers. A guy answered the phone. I said, I don't know who you are, pal. I said, but I got this number in my hand. Oh, he said, I recognise your accent from the meeting at the lunchtime. Oh, I said, was you at the meeting? He said, yeah, I gave you the number. I went, oh. I said, what about them meetings? He said, what about them? I said, you go to them meetings? Yes, he said, I go to them meetings. I said, do you go to them meetings at night? Yes, he said, I go to them meetings at night. I said, what does that mean? He said, I'm 4 months sober, 4 months sober going to the meetings. I went, holy shit. I said, can I go to one of them meetings with you tonight? He said, well, normally I would say yes. He said, but I've made arrangements to go to a movie with some friends tonight. I said, oh, all right, don't matter. And he picked up on it like we do. Holy shit, he said, what is wrong with me? I said, what's the matter? He said, you may have just saved my life. I said, no, I never done nothing. He said, a newcomer wants to go to a meeting. I tell him, no, I'm going to a movie. Holy shit, what is wrong with me? 4 months sober. I go, no, where you live? I'm coming round to pick you up. I said, really? He said, yes. I said, what about your movie? He said, you're much more important than a new movie. Went all special again, didn't I? You know? He came round and picked me up, didn't he? I had my first lesson in alcoholic grandiosity. He came round in a little red Fiat sports car. Had it all decked out like a Mercedes, you know, with hubs caps on it and emblems and shit. Took me to a meeting, got me a beautiful book, Alcoholics Anonymous, 3rd edition. Still got it, got lots of miles on it. It's falling apart. Somebody said one time, if anybody's got a book that's falling apart, usually isn't falling apart themselves. We've still got it. Stayed sober ever since. Well, a little tangent to that story. I was in a similar event to this over in San Fernando Valley. We had a sober picnic. We were all contributing, and I had all my troops with me. And, you know, I've taught them what you guys taught me, how to be of love and service and to contribute. They haven't got any money, but they can do service and they can be security and they can, you know, help clean up and stuff like that. We're having a good time, walking around, having a good time. And walking around, I bumped into old Zachary that all those years ago, with 4 months, had stopped what he was doing to take a newcomer like me to a meeting. I said, hi, Zach, how you doing, man? Good to see you. He said, I'm doing great. He said, I know you're doing great. I hear good things about you all over town. I said, I'm doing great, smashing. I said, what are you doing on this side of the hill, Zach? Because he lives in Beverly Hills. We're in San Fernando Valley over the hill. He said, I'm speaking at the meeting today. I said, oh, wow, is that right? Far out. And it took me just half a minute to recognise. 30 plus years later, he's still 4 months ahead of me. See, the actions we take, you dig? The actions we take. And you guys taught me that. I never brought any of that. You know, they say selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. But I know people that are selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, no more alcoholic than the man in the moon. But they don't end up in detox over it. We do. You guys taught me that. I'm forever grateful. I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying right here with you, where I belong, where I'm best served, where I've bloomed. I'm no longer broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted today. I'm a very wealthy man financially and materially. But my greatest asset is that loving God you taught me about that I never brought in here with me. And for that I'm ever grateful. Namaste.